Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and in today's video I'm going to talk about Power Apps Mixed Reality 3D Control. So I know this is an experimental feature, but I thought we'd at least start looking into it. Definitely not production ready, but it's one of those things that you really want to start taking a look at because it's so cool and it can take your apps to the next level. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to walk you through how you can start turning on that experimental feature, get some of those 3D models, where can you find them, where should you put them so you can use them as a data sources, and then what kind of fun apps that you can build over there. So that's what I'm going to cover in this video. But before we jump into it, here's my intro. So like I mentioned, we're going to look at Power Apps Mixed Reality 3D Control. Things that I'm going to cover is, since it's an experimental feature, where in the advanced settings do I go and turn on that experimental feature? I'll talk about that. And then these are the three data connectors I'm going to reference, SharePoint Online, OneDrive, and GitHub over there. So this is the plan. Now what I'm going to do is actually start building the app. We'll go ahead and turn on the advanced feature. Then I'll even show you how you can go ahead and get all those nice 3D models and start putting in the data source. So let's jump into that. First thing I'm going to do is close over here and we'll come into my Power Apps. I'm in my Power Apps over here. We'll start creating an app. We'll create a Canvas app, and I'll go ahead and definitely create the Canvas app, but I'm going to use a phone layout. So as the phone layout comes in, I will go ahead and give it a name. Then I'll go to the advanced settings. So it's loading, getting things ready. Perfect. Now, first things first, you can skip that. Come over here to file, and I'll call that as Power Apps underscore 3D Mixed Reality Demo. Pick a nice icon, something like that. Go ahead and get some nice colors. Then I'll come into my settings, which I'm right here, advanced settings. And remember, it is in experimental, so you won't find it in preview features. What you got to do is scroll all the way down, and as you go there, you'll see mixed reality features. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. I want to pause over here because there's a little bit of misunderstanding, and the questions I get asked is that, hey, I do remember that for one of these mixed reality ones, I got to go into the settings and for that environment and turn on some functionalities over there. Do I have to do that for the mixed reality features as well? My response to that is, it's a good thing you know that because you kind of already understand how this works, but you only have to do that for the geospatial ones. You don't have to do that for the mixed reality. I'm going to save the geospatial ones for another video because there's a little bit more work involved. The apps can actually get a little bit more fun. So I'll save that for a whole different video altogether. In this one, for the mixed reality 3D component, all you have to do is go ahead and build the app, give it a name, come into the advanced settings, scroll all the way down to the experimental mode, and just turn on this feature. All right, so it's as simple as that. Go ahead and give it a name, and that actually takes care of the initial startup of the app over here. So we're going to stop right here, and now I'm going to switch my attention on the data source. So like I mentioned in my initial slide deck, is I'm going to actually do it on 3 different data sources, but I want to focus on really walking you through OneDrive and SharePoint, and then I'll also show you how the GitHub works. Now for the OneDrive and the SharePoint one, there is already a very good documentation available, but there was a little bit of confusion. So by the way, the link to this documentation, I've put that in the description over there, so you can always reference it. But when I was first walking through this, I made a few mistakes over here because I kind of misunderstood that. First thing I did was, as an MVP, I was able to go ahead and ping the Power Apps Mixed Reality product group. And they were gracious enough to answer my questions, help me kind of fix my problems over there. Most of it was user mistakes, which was me being the user. So I really want to give a big shout out to the Power Apps product groups for the mixed reality because they really helped me walk you through it. Now that I've learned how to do it, I'm sharing that with you all. So this is basically the big reference point. So what I'm going to do is I will go ahead and now open up Excel spreadsheet, and I'll actually rebuild this one from scratch so you can see it. So come over here, I'm going to go on Excel. And in my Excel spreadsheet, I'm actually going to create a new workbook. I'll go ahead and save that. Give more options. I can make sure I put it in the correct place. Yep, that is the one. I'll just save it over there. So here now, I want to make sure that we've got two types of columns. So I'm going to call it as name. And the other one, this is very important that you do it this way. Whatever is the name that you put in, which in my case, I just put that as 3D model. After that, you want to put in open brackets, image, close brackets. Now, the reason this is so important is because you save this in Excel, and if you did not put in that brackets image, Power Apps would not know that the URL you're going to put over there or the location that you're going to put over there is actually an image. Without that brackets and the image word in it, it will only reference that as just a location. But the moment you put that brackets and the image, Power Apps knows that, oh, I see that over there, which means that there's an image over there. So it's very important that you do that. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this Excel spreadsheet in a very specific folder. And the location of that folder in the OneDrive makes a huge, big difference. And I'll kind of talk to you about that in a minute. So let me actually go ahead and see the files that I'm going to put in. So these are my two files that I'm going to use. And this is actually a good time to stop and say that, hey, Daniel, where did you get these files over here? Let me show you. One of the things is I don't have to go and search anywhere. I don't even have to give those to you. They're actually already there in Windows 10. So in Windows 10, there is something called as 3D Builder. It's already an app which is part of Windows 10. If yours doesn't have it, already Windows 10 doesn't have it, you can go and install it. And then it comes over there with it. It's free. You can already have it available. So I went and opened the Windows Builder over here. And I'm going to click on New Scene. And then the moment I create New Scene, I come over here to Insert, click on Add, and immediately you have a full 3D library. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pick on, I like the trophy kits. So I'm going to select the trophy kit. I actually like this trophy cup. So I'm going to select the trophy cup, and this is a full-blown 3D. Now, in order for this to work on the Power App side, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do a Save As. And in the Save As, yep, I will store it in my file. It is important that you change the Save As file type as GLB, because that is the one right now Power Apps will recognize. There are some other ones over there which it may work with. But for one, in this initial experimental phase that is going on, GLB works best. So you want to go ahead and leverage that. So to make it simple, I'm going to remove the cup and I'll just put trophy.glb. So all said and done, those are the three files that I'm going to use. That's fine. I'll go ahead and continue. So now I have my three files. Remember, I showed you how I got one. You can go ahead and pick all the other ones you have here. You might be able to already have some of them. But this, if this is brand spanking new and you're playing with it, I've already shown you how you can get those files. All right, so I'm going to go and close that. These are my files over here. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually I'm just going to scroll this to this, move it to the right, and I'm going to reference that for my names. So as you guys saw, I've got these three names over here. I've got Gazebo, I've got a Surface Pro, and I've got Trophy. Now, where am I going to place this? Because I need some locations for that. So let's go back into my OneDrive. Now in my OneDrive, this is my root location of OneDrive. But just to prove a point and kind of show you how it works, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a folder, and that folder I'm going to call that as 3D model. Yeah, 3D models. That's what I'll call it. I'm going to create that folder. Then I'm going to go into the folder and I'm going to come in. I've got my files. I'll grab that. Remember, some of them are pretty big, 20 megs, 9 megs. So I'll just go ahead and drop these over here. And I'm going to have to fast forward through this because it takes a while for this to upload. So I'm going to let this get this uploaded. All right, so the trophy already got done over here really fast. All the other ones are moving along. You can see almost done. Almost done. This one takes the most time because it's 20 meg. So almost done. And Surface Pro showed up over here. The Gazebo should be here any second. And there you go. I've got all of them done here. Now, back to that Excel spreadsheet we worked on. All right. And I closed my Excel spreadsheet. It's still there. I thought it was closed. It's right here. Okay. I cancel. I want to keep that. So this Excel spreadsheet needs to have a reference for that location of that file. And in order to do that for the location of the files in OneDrive, you got to put in this syntax over here. I'm going to put dot /, and then I'm going to type in the name of that folder, 3D underscore models, another /, and then I put the name of the file. So in this case, I will come in, and I grab, close this, go ahead and grab that, and then I'm going to put in the gazebo.glb, come back next, dot / 3D models. This one is Surface Pro.glb, dot / 3D models, and then the last one is trophy. So I've gone ahead and gotten my 3 file locations, and remember, because I've got the image inside the brackets, this will be recognized as a file, as an image file, not just as a location of URL. Now, what if I, well, actually, let me go and save that, and I'll go ahead and also upload the file, and just to make sure, this is the one that I just created, so I put it over here. 3D demo, Excel spreadsheet name was, that's the wrong one. Let me get rid of that one. It was the Power Apps 3D. Yep, that's the one. Now, because I placed this file right at the root, and the files itself, the the 3D model files were inside the folder, that is why I had to go ahead and set up that structure this way. That is why you see the 3D underscore models over there. Now, if you are coming up where I want to put everything into this one folder, I went ahead and created this 3D models over here. I've already got all my files over here, and inside that I'm going to save my Excel spreadsheet. If you do that, if you place your Excel spreadsheet, then this becomes the root of that folder, of that file location. Then what happens is, if you did that, you no longer need to put in that 3D underscore models. Your 3D, your URLs over here by default will become .1 gazebo.glb, / surfacepro.glb, / trophy.glb. It is very important that you understand that. The reason, and once again, just to re-narrate, the reason I have this folder structure and directory location is because my Excel spreadsheet is at the root, and the files are inside this 3D folder. That's why I have this name over here. If I went ahead and took this file and put it inside the same locations as the files, then I would no longer need any of these middle locations, which is the 3D model. I would just have the dot / and then gazebo, just the name of the files. Very important for you to know that, all right? Hopefully you understand that, because this is key. Otherwise, your data connection will not work. So we're done with the OneDrive. Since we're at the pace of going and setting up data sources, I'm going to finish up the SharePoint one as well. So I'm going to come out to Site Contents, and over here, it's very important that you know that I'm creating a list. So in the list, I'm going to go ahead and give it basically the same name, Power Apps. I'll just say 3D models. 3D models. Create that. Goes ahead and creates a list, not a document library, a list. And then here I'm going to make a few changes. In the list settings, I'll come and just change the title, and I'll call that as name, because remember the Excel spreadsheet had name, so remain some consistency. And then it already has a place to put the attachment, but it doesn't show it. So the list view doesn't show it. So I'm going to come over here to views, select on the default all items, and I'm going to go ahead and select the attachments. So that way, I now have the name and the attachments, and I'm going to do something very similar I just did, is I'm going to upload these one by one. So I will go ahead and now add a new item. The first one is going to be gazebo, and then I'll go ahead and click on attachments, and I'll go grab my gazebo. Again, it is uploading it. The gazebo is 20 meg, so it takes a little time. So let that finish over here. Gazebo is done. Next one, let's go ahead and do the Surface Pro. Remember, I'm not putting any file names over here. I'm just giving it the name. No file extensions. Save. Goes ahead and uploads it. And then the last one is trophy. Attach it. Trophy. Save. All right, so now we've got our data sources and we've got the files over there. So we're done with that piece. The one which I'm going to show you in the other location as well in GitHub, I'll walk you through that towards the end, but I want to focus only on these ones for now. So let's now come over here and let's connect to those data sources. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got my connectors. I got to just search for SharePoint. Click on SharePoint. I can just go ahead and connect to that directly. Thought I already had a connector, but I guess I didn't. This would be nice for you all because for the first time, you're seeing me do the whole thing. Okay, so I got 3D models over here. Next thing is let's go and grab from OneDrive. Search OneDrive. OneDrive for Business. Connect. And just make sure that you're not picking that one because it's in the Excel spreadsheet. Select the Excel spreadsheet. Oh, and it's not recognizing that. Anybody want to guess why? I'll tell you why. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that and bring that back over here. Make it easier. Let's see what we got here. All right, so that's actually a good tidbit that happened over here. So let me go ahead and open this up again. I bet you some of you already thought that this mistake is going to happen. And that's because I have not made it as a design over here. So I'm going to come in, I'm formatting it as a table. Let me make it clear here. Format it as a table right there, header. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this one as PA 3D model. And then I'll call the same thing over here just to make some consistency. PA 3D model. All right, so now it's saved and now it'll work. All right, saved it. Go ahead and grab that and drop it here. It says yes. Go ahead and yeah. It's checked out. Let me just go and delete it straight away. Now upload it. All right, perfect. Worked. Let me go back and now try to put it over here because I bet it'll find it now in our OneDrive. OneDrive. There. And there you go. Now it finds it. Okay. Took a little bit of my time, but we got it done. So first things first, let's figure out how we're going to get all of this to work. So I'm going to now create, I'll make a simple screen. This is going to be our main screen. And I'll just drop two little buttons. That way I know which screen is going to be what. So I'll put one for SharePoint. That way I can actually just make sure I'm going, when I open up the app, it's going to the correct screen. Then this one will be OneDrive. All right. Go ahead and create another screen. And in this screen, I'm going to make the connection to, let's do SharePoint first. So in SharePoint, there's an interesting way you got to do it. First things first is I'll go ahead and get a gallery. And the gallery is going to be very simple. In the gallery, I will just make that as titles and subtitles. Let's just do it as titles. Right? And then here, I'm going to connect, and I click that. It gives me some options. In fact, right here, when I go outside and click on it, this one's going to be SharePoint, so I'll select that. And it already went there and picked the names, which is perfect. Now, next thing I do is I come over here. I just confirm that I did go ahead and make that settings, the advanced settings, scroll all the way to the bottom. Yep, I went ahead and got the mixed reality there, which means the moment I've turned that on in my media, when I scroll all the way to the bottom, you will see the view in 3D view. So that's the whole a process I'm doing for this one over here. This was the whole focus of setting that 3D up. So right now you see this 3D cube. So that's just the default one over here. And you see that SRC, and that's the property over here. So in the SRC, this is where you got to go ahead and put in this formula. So what I got to do is, first things you would think is that, hey, it's an attachment, and if it's for the selected one, which means I bet you would do something like this, gallery one. All you got to do is type in gallery one, because you'll say, Daniel, this is easy. It's in the attachments one, which means whatever I've selected, this is selected dot attachments, and that should work. But it doesn't. It actually has this error over here. All right. It says expected text value. So, okay, text value, which means I should just be able to do this and this, and even that doesn't work. Right now, as we stand, the only way this works is actually by putting in the first function over here, closing it, click on dot, and then you go grab the value. That's the only way it works over here. And what you have, in fact, if you see, it's already starting to load. It's very important that you get this formula over here, because that's exactly and the only way it works right now, is you go ahead and make sure that in that gallery type of functionality, you're always picking the first attachment. And also, as you know, I want to make sure I know which attachment I'm working with. It's actually loading. So I'll just select my entire gallery. Hey, there it is. Nice. Come over here, and I'll just click on the template fill. That way I always know which one I'm selecting. So I put in my favorite if function. If this item dot selected or is selected, then we'll give it, say, blue Alice blue, otherwise that. So you can see that that one is selected over there. So let's do a quick test. Surface Pro is selected. It's loading. We'll be able to go and see the Surface Pro. Otherwise, you can also go and click on the let it load. It says 0%. Quickly going through. I can scroll around. I can zoom around it. It's pretty nifty just to play around with it. But think about the other options that you have, that now users no longer just have an image. They have a full 3D view of the item that they're looking at. Same thing for the trophy. And remember, the trophy is the one we just got from that 3D builder, which is directly in Windows 10. So even that one works over here. Perfect. Okay. But let's not just stop here, because what you want to do is you want to be able to view that. So here I'm going to click on save. And in the save, I'm showing you two ways. One is you can directly view what that 3D view is. You can view it directly in the app. So that's the first thing that I showed you. The next one I'm going to show you is when you come over here, I'm going to actually create a new screen. In that screen, I'm going to go ahead and capture this gallery because we will need that. And now over here, I'm going to click on mixed reality, and I'm going to go view in mixed reality mode. So one of the biggest difference this thing is that in the first one, we were able to directly use what was called as the view in 3D mode. So I can directly see that over here. That control is directly on the media. This one, view in 3D mode. But now when you want to apply that 3D model in mixed reality, you got to come over here to mixed reality and go ahead and grab that view in MR. All right. So that's kind of a very important thing that you need to know. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to, which one of these 3D models do you actually want to view? And so for that, I'm going to use something exactly similar, which is I'll actually just do it straight away from here. I'm going to go and just directly copy that, come straight over here, and I just got to make the change to the gallery name. So it's gallery _ select one, and that is basically it. So let me start making sure that over here, I go navigate. In the navigate, I'm going to screen 2. In screen 2, I'll just put in another button of some kind. That way we know where to go. So I'll come to my controls, go to the next, navigate, I can go to screen 3. Here I can just put in something else. We'll leave it for now. So we've got this working. Now let me open up my app and we can start playing with it. because we've already done a big piece with the SharePoint side over here, right? So let me open up my phone. In here, let me open up this guy. Come in, grab, iShare. Perfect. See my phone. I'm gonna go and open up my Power Apps. I've logged into that tenant. And any minute now you should see the new apps. Testing mixed reality. That's the one we just created. So I'm gonna go and open that. Just make sure it all works. That's not the one. Power Apps 3D one. That's the one. So let me just make sure I'm actually getting that. Power Apps 3D. Oh, I had the wrong one. It's this one. Do I want to allow the camera? Yes, I want to allow it. And there you go. So let's do the first SharePoint one. On the SharePoint one over here, when I click it, it is actually loading of all these things. So it's by default, it's selected the gazebo. So that's why it's already loading the gazebo. As you can see, the loading 3D content is 0%. So it's loading in over there. All right. Let that finish so we can actually see directly me. This is, over there. And I'm actually now using my hand and my fingers, and it's doing that. So you're not actually seeing it, me doing it on the screen, but trust me, I'm actually doing it on the phone. And it is sweet. Directly on the phone, I can zoom in, zoom out. And you have actually successfully made your first mixed reality app without us using a single line of code. And that's saying something. But let's make it even more fun, all right? I have that same gazebo over here. So I'm going to click on now in the view in MR. And it is loading. And once it loads, I'll show you how it works. Okay. And there you go. Did you see that? I have a gazebo in my office thanks to the mixed reality mode over there. I'm going to stand up over here, look at it from different ways. I mean, this is sweet. And what I can do is I can come over here and I can actually take a picture too. This way I've been able to successfully go ahead and now create the app. I've used both ways. One is just to view the 3D model, and the other one is to go and apply that 3D model in a mixed reality mode over there. So we went ahead and successfully did this from SharePoint as the storage place. But what I want to do is show you how we can do that from the Excel side as well, because we made the Excel spreadsheet and I walked you through how to do the Excel spreadsheet piece over there. But I want to show you just how that works on the Power App side, all right? So I can now go ahead and close this because I already did the full demo. So we close that piece, go back to our Power Apps. Wasn't that fun? We actually built our full first app over here. Okay, let me just change that to SharePoint 1. Change that to SharePoint 2. Come over here, new one. This should by default change. Yeah, perfect. Change. Okay. So here, now I'm going to, in my OneDrive, it's almost the same, but there's also something different over here. So let me go, let's start from scratch. Come over here, go to the gallery. In the gallery piece over here, I am going to use my 3D one. And what I should have done is, well, I only got one piece, so we've got that over here. But it is very important of how we go ahead and name these. So I want to make it a little bigger because I want to show you something. All right, I don't need that, so I'm going to delete that. Control C, Control V. Make that a little bigger. Because what I'm showing you right now is that effect that we had by adding in image. This is how it works. So watch, I come in to the text. And in the text now, the only other option I have is 3D model. And watch, this is the whole 3D model. Just because you went ahead and added that the brackets, open brackets, image, close brackets. Because you did that and you did it in the column name, Power App no longer sees that as a text. It sees that as a location of where the file is, and it presents it to you as a file. That is the cool thing over here, right? That's why it's able to go ahead and do the whole thing. And again, remember, the location of the file over there is very dynamic. That's why you need to know where exactly that Excel spreadsheet is sitting. Otherwise, if it sits with the files, then it's in the default location over there. So kind of keep that in mind, all right? All right, let me go back here now. This is good. So I can look that a little bit. And here we come back in media, view in media, gets dropped over here. And then everything else for this one is the exact same. Now, there's a little bit of a difference over here, not exact same. In SharePoint side, because the data source was SharePoint and it's SharePoint's attachments, because SharePoint can have multiple attachments in a single list item, we had to use the first over there. You can't do that on Excel spreadsheet because Excel spreadsheet can only have one URL for one attachment. Therefore, we don't have to use the first function. You just use gallery.selected, and then you go ahead and apply the model name, and then it'll work. See, it's actually loading. Take it a little bigger. The first one is the gazebo one, so it's actually taking a while. It's going 0%. But once it loads, you'll actually go and see the full gazebo over here. And see, there it is. It's already working just the way it is supposed to be. So remember, there was that key difference between the SharePoint side and the Excel spreadsheet in OneDrive. In SharePoint, it's a very simple thing. It's a list. You only add the title by default. We changed it to name, and then already had the attachment. But on the SharePoint, when we went ahead and viewed it, we had to use the first over there because SharePoint, each list item has multiple attachments. On a OneDrive with the Excel spreadsheet, completely separate process over there. You got to make sure that in the Excel spreadsheet, you need to put in that image over there, you need to put in the location of that. And it's very relative. The relative bit I mean is that if this was on the root, then you got to put in all the folder structure naming path for that. If it's directly in the same location as the GLB files, then there is no path. Therefore, it'll just be right here. It'll just be the dot / and then just the file name over there. Very, very important thing. All right, so I've shown you two really good ways to go ahead and do first get the Power Apps and the two big locations over there. But I want to end this by even talking about GitHub. So I'm going to show you directly a fully finished one. I want to give a big shout out to Mariano because Mariano helped me figure out one thing, which I just missed it, but he was able to catch that. Is the URL. There's a very specific URL that you got to use when you're connecting to the GitHub files over there, and Mariano helped me figure that out. So Mariano, a big shout out to you. And Mariano's response was,
"You're welcome, Daniel."
So once again, man, thanks a lot for that. So here's what the thing was. When you use the GitHub, there's a few things you got to do. So let me go scroll up to GitHub. Yep, right there. In GitHub, once you've gone ahead and created your repository, you go ahead and drop your repository. You got to make sure that the URL is this one over here. And when you also use GitHub, you got to keep this in mind. Is that right now, since this is in the preview, or this is in the experimental mode, your GitHub needs to be open and completely anonymous. It doesn't need to be authenticated because of this constraint. Again, remember, this is experimental. Right now, the server that hosts the document must not require authentication and must have this CORS compliant. So what that basically means is while you're testing it in your repository, this is my repository, in your repository, wherever you're dropping these files over here, your settings, when you go to your settings and when you go to the manage access, it needs to be public repository. Don't get too concerned. This is just in the experimental mode right now and this is playing around. That's why it needs to be in that setting over there. In the future, they will add more restrictions to that. So that's the one key thing. Second thing is you need to make sure that your URL is correct. So you see, in my case, I have to put that raw because even though it's github.com, thechristian90mr, the actual way that Power Apps recognizes and directly talks to the 3D model is with this URL. So it's raw.githubusercontent.com, then the name that you have, and then you still got to put in the master and all of this. So again, look at the link that I've provided below over here, because the link will actually show you exactly what is that URL functionality over there. And it gives you this function over there. And I'll also, if you see, take a look at these ones, because remember, from here onwards, that is my GitHub account and that's my repository. But in your case, you will have to put in all of these things just the way yours works. All right, keep that in mind. And this is only if you're using GitHub. If you're only going to stick with OneDrive and SharePoint, then that's fine. So then in my GitHub, my file over here, the place where I use the GitHub, I didn't have to make any data connections. What I did do is I had to go ahead and at least make a collection. So in my collection, I went ahead and created this view MR collection, and then for each and every one, I had an item, and then I had the URL. And see the URLs? It's the exact same one that I did over there. And then once I was able to go and do that, in the collection, I went ahead and just dropped the collection as is over here. And then every time I would put in the same collection as the, as the 3D model view over here component, it would just be whichever one was the selected item that I selected, and it worked. So this was basically the overview. In case you're just curious to see how GitHub works, and you've been playing around with it and it doesn't work, there's two key things over here. In your manage access, you've got to go ahead and temporarily for this experimental mode, you got to go ahead and create a public repository. Therefore, it's actually best that for this one, you create a separate repository itself just to play around with. Go ahead and drop your files over there. And then here, you make that specific repository's access available to everyone. And after that, you got to go ahead and make sure you've got this prefix. Go ahead and add this master, and then you got to go ahead and put in the file name as well. It's very important that you do that. So as a quick recap, we were able to successfully go ahead and play with the experimental feature of the mixed reality 3D component over there. It was pretty slick. I even showed you how to get those 3D components. You can actually build that over there. I showed you 3 different places to put it. I put it in OneDrive. In OneDrive, you need to have that Excel spreadsheet to reference where the OneDrive is. There is a trick in that Excel spreadsheet's name. Remember, you had to put in the brackets and the path location over there inside the brackets. In SharePoint, it was pretty simple, but it's a SharePoint attachment, so you got to use the first function over there. And then I ended by showing how you can use GitHub as well with some configuration changes. So hope this was fun to you, and as always, keep power apping.